Let's go over to Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kiszely. Thanks for joining us again, Philip.
Hi, Kevin. Great to see you again.
Well, look, I want to talk about Giorgia Meloni in just a second. I just mentioned the horror in Germany today, and a story has emerged over the weekend that the ethnicity of criminals here in Britain is not being revealed by police forces because they fear they may be charged or may be accused of racism. And it turns out that more than a quarter of our child sex offence cases do not include that key detail of the perpetrator, what ethnicity they are, because the police in their middle-class hand-wringing way are terrified that somebody might say, oh, that's racist. We've got to stop this nonsense, haven't we? We've got to confront the truth.
Yeah, we're in a situation where the police are terrified of the criminals, or probably more accurately, they're terrified of any pushback they will get from blue-haired upper middle-class people called Ponsonby Smythe on Twitter. There's a real problem, and it's willful blindness, and we know how devastating this can be. It puts me in mind of something that happened a long time ago. I'll just mention it very quickly. A couple of weeks ago, I saw a photograph, a composite photograph, lots of viewers might have seen it, of a composite photograph of mugshots of gang rapists, grooming gang people. And you might have seen it, and it was like a slap in the face. They are all one demographic. There was maybe one or two people who weren't, but they were all one demographic, as we any heritage men. And it took me back to the Yorkshire Ripper case, where police saw photograph after photograph of a dark-haired man with a beard, and they interviewed Peter Sutcliffe 9 times and let him go every time, because in their minds they were looking for someone else. They were looking for a letter hoaxer. They were blind to the truth, and what we are here is blind to the truth, and the consequences of 50 years ago are the same as now. People will die, people will get raped, people hurt, because we cannot confront the truth, or the establishment and the police cannot confront the truth, and that is people are coming over here who want to kill us, want to harm us, and who are waging war on us.
Absolutely. And this reluctance of the police to record the ethnicity of criminals, and also, by the way, it's an official Home Office policy not to tell us the ethnic breakdown of our prisoners, our foreign prisoners, and what offences they commit. We're interested to know whether or not some of our foreign friends who end up in prison, many of them migrants, asylum seekers, whether or not they have a propensity to a particular type of crime, particularly sex crimes, because it seems that they probably do. It has just emerged in Sweden that 2/3 of that Scandinavian country's convicted rapists are migrants. 2/3 of Sweden's convicted rapists are migrants. Now, that is an important statistic that a nation, a population, citizens have the right to know. We have 10,000 foreign prisoners out of our 90,000 or so prisoners in this country. 10,000, big percentage. We don't know what their ethnicity is, what connection their ethnicity might have to their crimes, because I think it's the same reason, because our authorities are worried that if we do that, it might seem a bit racist. Again, we are not confronting the truth. We are more worried about our middle-class angst about being called Islamophobic or racist than we are about confronting a very important truth.
Yeah, and Sweden is a really good example, because 40 or 50 years ago, again, Sweden was probably one of the most safest places on earth, and now the crime rate is just appalling, and the antisocial behaviour and all sorts of terrible things that are just happening in the streets. So the plane has crashed into the mountain there. They are beyond catastrophe, and now they are looking at things like repatriation, remigration, and all of those things. And we will come to that. You know, we are not learning the lessons of our neighbours. We are not learning. We are not seeing what's going on. Well, some of us are, but the establishment and the political class aren't. We're not seeing what's going on there, and we are not bearing in mind the safety of our own people. And the crime is one thing, and safety, of course, is of paramount importance. You only have to walk through central London. I walk through central London a couple of times a week to work, and I feel intimidated. There's an atmosphere of suppressed violence in the air, but it's cost as well. Okay, so if we're talking about immigration and we're talking about low-paid workers, we're not even talking about illegal immigration here. We're talking about low-paid workers. We know that the cost to the taxpayer of each one of them is over £150,000 when they get to pensionable age. Okay, every single one of these immigrants costs the taxpayer £150,000 a lifetime. It's just unsustainable, and that doesn't take into account the illegal immigrants who are coming across in boats, of course. And I've got a stat here. In June 2024, 31,500 people arrived in boats in 6 months. It's just utterly crazy. And all we have is politicians saying we are going to do something, we're going to sort this out, and of course they never do, and the numbers rise and rise and rise. And what we have in Italy is a very sensible transaction.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Giorgia Meloni, the Italian leader, who was actually invited to the inauguration in Washington, pointedly, I think our Prime Minister was not. She is successfully stemming the tide of migrant arrivals there. They've still got a big problem, but in 2023, 157,000 migrants crossed the Mediterranean from northern Africa to Italy. She's got that influx down this past year by 59% to 66,000, and it's falling. How did she do it? No nonsense about smashing the gangs, evil people, smugglers, none of that. She talked sensibly to Libya, Tunisia, gave them a lot of money, and just said, I'll make it worth your while if you stop those migrants ever getting on boats. And they've done it. And she's also, it's not just cash. It's been described as soft diplomacy, but apparently it's quite hard-line diplomacy. If you don't play the game, we'll make life very difficult for you. So you can do it one of two ways. I can give you millions and millions and millions of euros to help you, or I can make it very difficult for you if you don't cooperate. So they've taken the money, and they've also taken an offer of friendship in terms of their cooperation, and it's working. Now, I understand we have a much more difficult problem here. You know, you can hardly go to, well, we've been to France, we've tried the money thing, that didn't work, gave them £500 million, didn't work, they're not bothering really to stop any migrants getting onto the boats. But what Georgia has done is taken the circumstances of her country and realistically confronted the migrant crisis. What have we done? Nothing. We've got no deterrent, and we've got this idiot Starmer and Cooper banging on about smash the people gangs. Well, you can smash the gangs till the cows come home. As long as the migrants are coming, there will always be gangs. So they're not in any way taking on board the reality of our migrant crisis, and thus it is doomed to continue and get worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to get exponentially worse over the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, there's a solution here, and it should be tied up with aid. You know, yes, we will give aid to certain countries in exchange for a guarantee that their population will not land on our borders, and if that population does land on our borders, then or even if we think they are, you know, if we have reasonable grounds to suspect that these people come from that country, then that aid will diminish or disappear. That's what we should be doing. It's realpolitik. It's sensible. It's dealing with human nature, and these places need money. Okay, let's give them money, but in return, we want something else. This is about our safety, and this is about our economy. It's very simple. It's transactional.
Indeed. Listen, Philip, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.